But the other thing about this, yes, it's hard work, but you know what's harder? Cold calling clients. You know what's harder? It's taking calls about your product and having to answer concerns. So again, I've been selling this course now for 6 years, and this single sales page has probably made me about $3.5 million. And I've had, as I said, 1,400 people take the big course. The number of people who actually called me to ask a question before they buy, it's probably 7.
A lot of people spend a lot of time thinking about all the ways that they need to go out and collect new leads, new prospects, new opportunities. But however, it doesn't matter how many people you bring into your world. If you don't have a compelling offer at the pointy end of the deal, it all amounts to naught. That's why today we're going to be talking about copywriting tactics for selling your big offer. And we're going to be running through 4 steps with the one and only Kate Toon. How are you, mate?
Ooh, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Well, now, Kate is an award-winning author. I don't know if you've seen her book, Misfit Entrepreneur. Hold it up, Kate. I'm sure you've got a copy there. Her background's in advertising. She worked at Ogilvy for a bit. Now she's a business marketer and digital marketing coach. She's got a new book coming out soon. Get this for a name, 6 Figures in School Hours. That's absolutely terrific. I can see who that is for immediately. And I've known Kate for a long time, and I've seen her present a bunch of times, and each time she dazzles me. Indeed, last time I saw you speak, Kate, I don't know if you know this, but you were talking about long form landing pages. Can you remember that?
No, but I'm sure I was great.
What I remember, you ran through all the different components of a long form landing page so that someone could read from the top, and by the time they get to the bottom, they're totally well and truly seduced. And what I do remember is there was about 20% of the room were like, oh, that is amazing. And then about 20% were, I run a retail shop. What am I doing here? And then there was about another 20% that was like, what's a landing page? And I'm like, how could this be even possible? And the top 20% of the room were just falling over themselves going, this is amazing. And then there was a bunch of people saying, what's a landing page? Such a shame.
I don't remember that. And does that add up to 100%? I don't know. With the 20% at the back, just, watching games on their phone, probably. That's the other 20%.
I think that they were probably selling knitted socks on Etsy. And
well, this is it. I mean, and we were talking before about like selling in its different forms. You've got product descriptions, you've got landing pages, you've got sales pages, you've got home pages. They're all a bit different. And I think it can be overwhelming, a bit confusing for people.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's try and keep things simple today.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about copywriting your big offer, which is the opposite of selling, $16 hand-knitted socks on Etsy. And if you're selling a big offer, it largely comes down to trust and understanding and the transfer of certainty. So this copywriting stuff needs to be really, really important. We've got 4 components to this puzzle. What's the first one? Where do we want to start?
Well, I think even before we get to the 4 components, I just want to clarify what you were talking there about the funnel. Where are people on the journey? If they're problem aware, then really you need to present the problem to them. If they're product aware, like they're comparing your product with someone else's, then you need some proof. If they're kind of, solution aware, if they're product aware, you need to give them a push. And if they are like big fans of James Tuckerman, you just need to give them the price and some kind of incentive. So it's really important to see where people are on that journey and how much pre-work you've done. No one's going to land cold, never heard on you on a sales page and just buy a $3,000 offer from that, unless it's brilliant. And maybe we can get there today with that. So the first component is really about solving the problem. So presenting the pain point or the problem back to the customer. We want to have the nod factor. So I start on your sales page and I address the exact problem that you are having. And to do that, obviously, we need to know our customers really, really well. We need to not be too vanilla and too broad. So, we need to have segmented our audience so well that when they get to the page, they are nodding. And, it's hard because people want to be all things to all people.
Yeah.
The truth about good marketing, as you well know, is, Some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. You need to be divisive. So the classic example is, walking past the chemist window, which obviously the website is the equivalent of a storefront, and you see a sign saying, do you have itchy feet? Now, if you don't have itchy feet, you keep walking. But if you do have itchy feet, that is going to stop you walking, stop the scroll, and you're going to be like, yeah, I have itchy feet. So you need to work out what your itchy feet problem is.
I think as well too, the key there is the target audience clarity. So if you know your target audience, you know what their shared problems are, and you can speak to them. Yeah. I think you can even go one step further. So if you were let's look at that analogy a little bit further. You're walking down the street and someone yelled out, "Hey, you," no one turns around. But if someone yelled out, "Hey, Kate," you would turn around. And I think that if you have a target audience and you know that target audience, so for example, you know that your target audience are all beekeepers, you can say, "Are you a beekeeper? Are you sick of your bees all flying away?" And the person's going to go, "Yeah." So we need to solve a problem. We need to know what the itchy feet of our clients are. We need
itchy beekeepers. So, one tool that copywriters use, we love a formula. We don't like making things up. So we use PAS, problem, agitate, solution. So you present the problem back to the customer, then you agitate the problem, and then you offer your product or service or big thing as a solution. So do you have itchy feet? Problem. Agitate. You can't wear the socks that you want. You always feel uncomfortable at events. It's embarrassing. You're going to lose your partner because she's so bored of you scratching your feet. Take it as far as you want to go. You're going to be divorced. You're going to be living in a bin. Agitate the problem and show them what will happen if they don't resolve it. And then come in with like the aha angel moment. We are the solution. Comfortable feet. You will never feel the embarrassment of itchy feet again with our new 12-week itchy feet mastermind. There we go.
I'm loving the example here. It's there's a saying I saw somewhere, or maybe I made it up, I don't know, but it was in which situation would you run faster, towards a cuddly teddy bear or away from a starving grizzly bear? And if you want people to take action, it's not, "Hey, check out this awesome thing that's going to make your life so much better." It's, is this terrible thing part of your world right now?
Yeah. And you can play too much into that negative space, but you're so right. Give you two headline examples, generate more leads. Okay. That sounds like a perfect headline, but really a more powerful headline is stop losing leads to the competition.
Yeah.
Because one of them gives you that kind of, oh God feeling, and the other one doesn't as much. So you're right. We want to run away from the grizzly bear. Exactly.
I fell into this mistake the other day. We call it the ROI versus COI. So everyone's talking about the return on investment, and the COI is the cost of inaction. And I met someone the other day. This is crazy. And this person was complaining about all the different SaaS tools that they have in their business. They got one to do this and one to do that. They jokingly said, "I've got 8,000 SaaS tools." And I said, "How much is that costing you?" And they said, $900 a month. Now, my mistake is that I said, "What if I could save you $600 a month, because get, our bundle and it's only $300 a month." And then the person, you wouldn't believe this. I said, "How much are you spending now?" They said 900. I said, "Well, mine's only 300. And then they said, "I can't afford it." Right? And it was just, my brain exploded. What's going on here? There are all sorts of reasons why people say no. But however, if I'd said, "Do you realize you're losing $7,200 a year? That's a family holiday."
Yeah.
It would have been a completely different situation.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Comparative costing as well. I'll talk about that a bit more when I get to the action stage. So yeah, but solving the problem is about addressing the problem head on. It's much better to go with a pain point than selling the positive. At this stage, we want to get people's attention. Another copywriting tool is AIDA, attention, interest, desire, action. So we need a real attention grabbing headline. We want to get that nod factor. And then we want to follow that up with a good subline as well. So usually the analogy I like to use is Batman and Robin. So Batman comes in and goes, bam, big headline. "Do you have itchy feet?" And then you follow it up with a bit of agitation. Robin comes in and goes, "This is the perfect foot cleaning solution that will change your life, right? And that's as much really as we need to do in the solving the problem bit. Then we move into stage 2, which is an explanation of the product. And this is the bit that a lot of people, I feel, get wrong, because what they do is they primarily focus on the features of the product. So, if I'm selling my membership, I might be like, it's a year-long thing, and you get 200 videos, and you get 3 coaching calls, and it's just a list of stuff. And often that list of stuff can feel like more of a problem than a solution, because you're like, oh my God, I have to turn up for 4 things and blah, blah, blah. So we really need to move from beyond features, beyond benefits, into advantages. So the feature is you get 5 calls a month. The benefit of that is you're probably going to get all your questions answered whenever you need them answered. But the real advantage of that is that you can move forward quicker in your business, make more money, and get back to watching Netflix with your family. Do you know what I mean? You're not selling the call. You're not even selling what they get from the call. You're selling the change in their life. And you don't want to be overblown here, but I think too many people focus on the literal rather than the advantage in people's life.
We haven't talked about outcomes, things, feelings, that particular model. So, the outcome is you're going to save time, which is too vague. We need to get more specific these days, but let's just say the outcome is that you're going to save time. The thing is the process of how we're going to save your time. 1 hour per week is going, 1 hour as part of this group mentoring is going to save you 5 hours a week. And then feelings, so that you can spend more time watching Netflix with your kids. Outcomes, things, feelings. I'm interested about what the next 2 are going to be. And maybe one of my thought then might slide into one of the next 2. But one thing that I've noticed, if we've identified a challenge, and sometimes it might be specific to a target audience, like, are you a copywriter and you're terrified that AI is going to take your job, right? So that's the naming target audience, that's naming the problem. When you talked about stage 2, the explanation, one thing that we've noticed is if we can provide a process, so rather than saying you're going to get all these things, we say we're going to move you through this particular process. And in doing so, if we've named the target audience, they get something called use case certainty. They go, oh, it is for me because I can see how you've got that particular process that's going to work for me. Is that part of 2?
Yeah, it is. So you can list how it works, and have your step 1, step 2, step 3, or our approach, or the success path, and show, there are 8 key milestones that we're going to take you through. That obviously lends itself like to a course or something, having modules. So yeah, you clearly want to show them that there is a structure to this, that there's a method to your madness, that there's a step 1 and a step 2, and you don't want to jump into step 7. So yeah, taking them through the process. But another really important part of this, explaining what it is, in part of it, you need to tell your story. So we're going to come to other people's story in a minute, but you need to do that whole thing. We see it on LinkedIn all the time, don't we, James? I was living in a bin, I had no money, and then I discovered this thing, and now I've got a Lamborghini and this, that, and the other. It's the hero's journey. You want to have the arc, and ideally it needs to be a bit more subtle than just bad, I did this, good. You want to have bad, goodish, bad again, goodish, bad again. Then I got there, then I learned. So you want to tell your story, because what you're saying to people is, I was you. I did my magic approach. Don't say magic, but I followed these steps, and now I'm here. And if I can do it, you can do it. So you're really trying to identify with your audience and show why you are the person doing this. Not a bio, but a story. Then you can follow up with the bio. I'm James Tuckerman, I've won these awards, and I've got a great beard, and blah, 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 blah. But that's not going to, that's like, we talk about CV life and eulogy life. CV life is all very LinkedIn. I've done this, I've won this award. Eulogy life is like what difference you've made to people. That's what people really care about. So think more eulogy than CV, and your story will be a lot stronger.
We use language. What's your authentic connection to the problem that you solve?
Yeah. Authentic's become a bit of a cheese word, like innovative. But yeah, I think some people struggle to be authentically. Does that make sense? They're ticking all the boxes, but it's still cold for some reason. So yeah, it's a hard one to get right, isn't it?
It is funny, this the authentic connection to the problem, because I've had people come into our world and and they don't have an authentic connection to the problem that they solve. And that's a problem, because if you don't, you've got to find it. Otherwise, people say, why is it that you do what you do? And you say, because I want to make
money.
Yeah, the why. I'll tell you another one. A way to get around that is answering the question, what frickin' does my head in? And then talk about all the ways that the industry that you represent does things badly. So, for example, I know that you are a gun in the SEO space. And I know that we're not talking about SEO, that you know more about SEO than most people that I know. And there are lots of people in the SEO space that are just doing it for the money. Mm-hmm. There are also lots of cowboys and cowgirls in SEO. However, if you're in that space, the simple thing is that, do you know what frickin' does my head in?
Yeah.
SEO people that won't tell you how it is that they're doing, and then they put you on recurring plans and all that stuff. Then, that's
it really works. It's part of, like, when you're doing personal branding, working out your values, which is hard for some people. But the way I help people get into that is say exactly that. What did you say? What frickin' pisses you off?
My head in.
Because I think being contrary is such a powerful way to get noticed in the industry. Everyone else is saying do this, and you're like, yeah, I do this. That immediately sets you up as a bit of a thought leader, and that's going to get people to this sales page in the first place. And also the authentic connection line that you mentioned, that needs to flow through everything. So who you are on Instagram is the same as who you are on LinkedIn, is the same as you are on the sales page, and also who you're going to get on the other side of the purchase. In my early days, I used to try and be all like what I thought an entrepreneur should be. I bought some fake hair off the internet. My office was super tidy. I know. Tell me about it.
I wish I could buy some fake hair.
I know, man. Just get one of those things that you attach to the cap. But what I mean is I was trying to be something I wasn't. But the thing is, once people purchased from me, they were going to find out who I really was anyway. Yeah. And I'd much rather people work that out before they give me their money. Because one of the things I pride myself on is I very rarely get asked for a refund on anything ever. I could count the number of times on one hand. And that's because I work hard to be my authentic self, and I eliminate everyone who doesn't like that along the way, so that when you get to the sales page, you're just like,
yeah, I know what I'm getting.
Yeah.
The other day where I totally messed up. I got the numbers wrong in the beginning about the price of something, and I got to the end and I was delivering the price, and then someone just said, "You've got the price all wrong. That's not what's different on the page," and all these other things. And I just paused, I don't know, a couple hundred people on the webinar, and I cracked up. And then I went, what you see is what you get, guys.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm hopeless. When it comes to numbers, I'm hopeless.
Yeah.
But however, everything else that I've said has made sense so far.
Yeah, exactly. And that's going to so endear you to people that you're willing to just go, you know what, I messed up there. Anyway, carry on. That's what you need to do in business, right? Yeah. So I love that. So we're still in the explanation of the product. We're pretty much we're nearly at the finish of number 2. There's lots of different ways you can present that. So we talked about features and benefits. You talked about approach, a story. You can list out the modules. You can have who it's for, who it's not for. That's really helpful as well. All that stuff is kind of like expanding the product, telling them what it is. The 4th point is proof the product works. And generally one would immediately...
which is
third. Sorry, we're up to 3. Proof. Sorry. See, this is what you get. So proof the product works. I mean, the obvious thing here is testimonials. But you need to be artful with your testimonials. Often people just shove them in. And you really need to pick 5 or 6 really strong testimonials that back up the promise. So if you've promised that you're honest, you need to have one testimonial that goes, oh my God, James is so honest. What you see is what you get. If one of your pain points that people are going to have is that it's too expensive, you have one of the testimonials that says, wow, I was nervous about spending this money, but it's the best investment I made. So each testimonial is artfully chosen to address a pain point. You don't just shove them all in. Photos, full short testimonial, name of the person, name of the business, fully transparent. None of this Jane from Ipswich thing. I need to be able to Google that person and find them and ask them if it's true at the end of the day. Yeah. I love a video testimonial. I know you do too, short and sweet. But then also other things you can add into proof is as featured in. It has an implied, gravitas. If Sydney Morning Herald featured you, well, then you must have something to say. Awards and certifications and memberships, that can also back you up. Logos of previous people who've done the thing. But the best one, the most powerful one, is results. So screen grabs of results. For me with SEO, it's that little chart going up, up, up.
Yeah.
But another thing that I love using, I use a lot now, James, is just taking screen grabs of Facebook comments. Someone's written a comment saying, oh my God, James's webinar was just the best thing I've been to in ages. There's something so genuine about that messy little screen grab that is much better than a beautifully curated and designed testimonial. So you can find lots of proof points to add to section 3. It
is funny, like the video testimonials. We used to do really polished video testimonials, and now, it's like
iPhone.
Yeah, if you got a camera. We have these questions for testimonials, and there's a series of questions that we ask. But one of the questions is, you begin with what was the problem that you're facing before you came into our world. Then you say, what did we do? Then you say, what surprised you? It's normally, you get to the end, and this is a little bit of craft here, a bit of stagecraft. We get to the end of shooting a testimonial and we go, oh, we're done. And then they go, and then we go, oh, no, I got one more, right? And they go, and then you go one more. And they go, oh, yeah, okay. And then we say, before you signed up with us, what was the one thing that you were nervous about? And so you said that before. What are they nervous about? And sometimes it's time, sometimes it's money, sometimes they've been ripped off. And they immediately say what everyone else is probably thinking who hits the page. They're like, oh, I'd seen like something this before, or I'd done this, or whatever it is. But, and then they go on to explain what an amazing experience that they have. The best testimonials handle those objections, all those fears, all those objections. That's terrific.
I love that. I start with that. So I'm like, what's the number one reason why you didn't want to do this course? And then you get this beautiful line that says, I've always wanted to learn SEO, but I felt this course was going to be too expensive. And then the person watching are going, oh my God, that's what I'm thinking too. And then they go on to sell that for you. So yeah, you can really guide people. It's not like you're putting words in their mouth, but you're giving them a structure to respond to. So you get really salient quotes that you can use.
I had a fun statistic. I was going to say the other day, but I heard this about 3 or 4 years ago. It's about the optimal number of testimonials on a page. Do you know what the number is?
Well, I'm sure someone's made one up, but yeah, let's hear it.
I know everybody's going to be different. It's actually the theory behind it is better than the number itself, because there is no real one number. Are you ready?
Go on then.
It's 1 or 5 or more. So apparently if you do 1, so it's in a proposal, you might have that one testimonial, which is exactly them. And they read it and they go, that's exactly me. If you have 5, it has this whole sort of thud factor effect where they're like, oh, wow.
Boom. Yeah.
Look at all these different people. And they're not reading them all thoroughly, but they're going, this person got money and this person got results and this person overcame a fear and whatever it is. But if you have like 2 or 3, apparently people will look at them and if one of them doesn't exactly apply to them, they go, oh yeah, it doesn't apply to me. Even if the other 2 are spot on.
Interesting.
Try and find ways to say no.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'd probably include a few more than 5, but I also have a separate page, which is just all testimonials. And looking at my Google Analytics, I see that some people spend up to 19 minutes on that page.
Wow.
So they're watching video after video to find the one that reassures them. But the other proof that's worked really well for me is just to have a couple of case studies on the page, from your ideal customers. So, this is Sue. She sells flowers. She's a florist in Sydney. Her objection was this. She did this, blah, blah, blah. So that people who want to, if you're asking someone to give you $3,000, they already want to make the purchase. They're just looking for evidence that they're going to make the right decision. And some people need more than others. So a case study works really well as well.
Incidentally, I just thought, because of when we began, I said I saw Kate on the stage and she was talking about long form landing pages. We are talking about this largely in the context of people reading down a page or working through a process. I was recording a podcast with someone actually this morning, today, and this person, Jason, delivers his proposals as Google Docs, like a Word document. There is no reason why what we're talking about here needs to be on a page.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. I just sold out, a $10,000 per person masterclass with a simple PDF. It had the I didn't want to build the sales, but I didn't want to pay for the developer, to be honest. I wanted to test the market. So absolutely. Also, you might think, well, I've got, I sell socks on Etsy or I sell services. This is not relevant. It's the same points. Explain what you're selling, detail out what it includes, prove why it works. And then the fourth element is action to purchase the product, which sounds really obvious, right? Just have a big buy button. But we need to frame the purchase specifically, right? So one of the things you can do with action to purchase the product is to offer a guarantee. So before you even get to the prices, offer some kind of guarantee, money back or customer satisfaction or whatever it is. That shows that you have absolute confidence in your product. You're so confident in it that if people don't like it, you'll give them their money back.
And incidentally, I will say a lot of people push back on this until you actually break it down. And there are complete, whatever you want money back guarantees, but there are also conditional guarantees.
Yeah, absolutely. Conditionals work really well.
And what I believe is that firstly, you've got to have some sort of guarantee, and it doesn't matter what it is that you do. Actually, that's not true. There can be very complex things we have to put in a lot of time and effort, and you might want to have a conditional guarantee. But what I would say is that if you're not feeling that slight, that sphincter clench, like you're like a little bit worried that like this is going to blow up in your face, you're probably not being generous enough.
Yeah.
And every year we add extra layers to our guarantee, because most of the things that we fear when it comes to a guarantee are not real things. My mum says fear is an acronym. It spells false evidence appearing real.
Oh, good on your mum.
Yeah. And we had a client years ago before we specialized in B2B, and he was a jeweler, and people would come in to buy an engagement ring. And I said, well, what are the things that they're concerned about? And he goes, oh, they want alterations. And I said, what do you do? And he goes, oh, we promise them, at least 2 alterations. And I said, what if you give them unlimited alterations? And he goes, oh, that would be dangerous. And I said, how many people have ever come back for, a second alteration? And he goes, oh, one in 100.
Exactly.
Give them unlimited alterations. They go, wow, this jeweler is giving me unlimited alterations. And initially the guy was terrified until he realized that no one's going to ask for it. So offer.
And I think the other thing is, don't create too many hoops people have to jump in. I remember I made a rash purchase decision, and the person said, oh, you have to fill out this, you have to show evidence that you've done X, Y, and Z. Really made me work to get my refund. If someone doesn't want your thing, let them go with grace. Let them go with grace, because there's nothing worse than an angry customer. They will do so much damage to your brand. Not that we should be fearful, and some people are just asses, and we get that. But put in a few caveats, like with my recipe course, you get 2 weeks to ask for a full refund, and then I take $100 admin fee. That's my thing. And it's clearly stated. It's not stated in the terms and conditions. It's stated on the sales page just before you buy. So completely transparent. As I said, I've had 1,400 people take that course. I've given 3 refunds in that whole time. And they were because people were ill generally, or they just signed up and then went, oh my God, I don't know why I've done this. So yeah, guarantee is super important. And then we get to pricing. And I like to, not say the price. I like to talk about your investment. A little tweak of work is like words makes it sound like
it doesn't make you money or save you money.
Yeah, you're not just spending money, you're investing it in your future. I like to have the price transparent on the page. We were just talking about how in Australia, ACC have announced that you have to have the GST included rather than plus GST. So I'm going to have to change.
Sales tax included.
Yeah. I have my currency converter, because we were talking about how sometimes US Canadian dollars, people think, oh my God, that's the price in USD. And you're like, no, it's Australian. It's so much cheaper for you. But they don't get it. So I have that. So what I like to do is create a pricing sandwich. I have my pricing. Then I have FAQs. I have a little bit more proof. And then I have a paint the future. So this is a little copywriting technique. I thought you'd like this. He's writing it down, people.
This is the when you get to the end of a podcast or an interview, I always find there's like this one little bit.
You can pick up one new thing. I'm picking up your mum's thing. I love that, the fear thing. Paint the future is like, you've taught, what their pain point is. You talk to them about what life's going to be like after they've solved it. So for me, for my SEO course, it's imagine never having to pay attention to those greetings of the day from Sanjit emails ever again. You know, we all get those. Imagine being able to manage your own SEO confidently without having to use an expensive resource. Imagine seeing the sales coming in as your ranking rises and customers love you and return more and more. That's what you get with the recipe for SEO success. So you just paint the future. I mean, it's very salesy. It's very ambitious. It's very kind of like, look at me, I'm claiming this, but it's true. And it's what everybody wants. So you give them that. So you've got pricing, FAQ, bit of proof, paint the future, bit of poof, and then pricing again. So you always end the page with the price. And the question that I often get asked, you know, we talked about these 4 sections. It's a lot of stuff. And people are like, why does it have to be so long? There's a couple of ways to overcome that. I am somebody that keeps my sales pages live all year round. So, you know, James, in our world, some entrepreneurs gatekeep, like you're open, you can see the price while they're open, and then you can't see it all year round. I like to have my pricing there all year because a lot of my businesses that work with me are saving up for this.
Oh yeah.
I want them to know that that this is how much it's going to be, and that's fine. Therefore, I've got to consider first-time visitors and second-time visitors. So I like to include a little micro navigation at the top of my sales page, which lets people jump to the pricing, jump to the whatever. They still scroll through everything very quickly, which shows the gravitas, but it allows them to get where they want to get. And the truth is, the bigger the expense, the more emotional the purchase, the longer the copy needs to be, because you have more objections to overcome.
Well, when I was running the magazine, I read a lot of books on direct mail. So my first big
that used to be my job in Ogilvy, writing direct mail.
And it was interesting because there was everyone's split tested, everything's measured in direct mail because it's so measurable. And they'd send a letter in the mail, and the optimal length of a letter in the mail apparently was double-sided, A4 double-sided. And there was little fun little tactics, like you get to the bottom of the page and it would end through halfway through a sentence, and then it would say PTO. Would always drive my head up. I'd want to always finish the sentence, but that was the idea. ... PTO, they'd flick it over, they'd read the rest of the page. And according to these books, the optimal page length was 2 A4 pages. Within about 10 to 12 months of people applying these online strategies to long form landing pages, you may have read the same statistic or just have a guess. The optimal number of pages, if it was printed out as an A4, like imagine a long form landing page printed out as an A4 and it was like run along the ground. What do you think the optimal number of pages was?
I don't know. I mean, look, I have a standard, but what is it? Tell me.
12.
12.
So
yeah.
12. But the thing is, it's a different experience. If you got 12 pieces of paper in the mail, or 6 pieces that were double-sided, you're not going to read the damn thing. But however, a long form landing page, and I'd be interested to know if you ever printed it out and saw how long it went on the floor, how long it would be.
I've got a rule. I mean, I think really the rule of thumb around writing sales pages, because I teach people how to write sales pages. So a lot of copywriters, it's like, how long should it be? The rough figure is around 3,000 to 5,000 words, which in web terms, you would think of a web page being about 400 to 500. So it's about 6 or 7. Yeah, it's a lot. But, there's loads of research, UX research from like Jakob Nielsen that says, people don't read from start to finish online. They forage. Yeah. So this is why the layout, we've talked about the copy, but I also teach how to wireframe and design your sales page, because you need, light and shade. You need big headlines that draw people to that section. Maybe my main concern is what's in the course. Maybe your main concern is who else you've worked with before. And so you need to really signpost that content with subheaders, white space, have a nice mix of graphics, photography, video. You can overdo it. Like I do think, and I don't want to be sweeping generalizations, some of the American sales pages, it's like, oh my God, make this end. They are 20,000 words long. And to me, therefore, you've got to the point where you're beating me over the stick. And so part of me, as a cynical British or Australian people, because I think it's like, you're saying too much. You're overselling this. We don't like infomercials in this country. We don't like people saying the same thing. We like to know the details, but get to the freaking point, man. So the tactics that work, you have to think about where your audience is from as well. The tactics that work in America, which is a very sales-driven country, don't work quite so well in Australia. You have to pare it back a little bit. So we may go 12 pages to 6. I don't know.
And once again, we are talking about a long form landing page. If someone sent a Google Doc and it was 12 pages in length, I'm probably not going to read it.
Exactly.
Indeed, you can distill the best things down to about 3. And that would be the case. If someone sent you a proposal, it's probably going to be 3 pages. Just one more thought. And this is because we are talking about copywriting tactics for selling your big offer. And we have been talking about things in the context of long form landing pages. I introduced the idea of this could be a Google document or a proposal. Kate did one the other day that was just a simple PDF. If you've got the discipline to be able to work through a process like Kate just talked about, or, engage Kate to help you with something like that, you become part of her community. And you've got that stuff down. A lot of people say, oh yeah, that's really hard work. That's going to take ages. Well, one thing that I want you to think about is that if you've pulled together your 8 milestones, or if you've pulled together your authentic connection to the problem, if you've pulled together your explanation, if you've pulled together your itchy socks pain point, itchy feet pain point, if you've pulled together your testimonials, Kate mentioned that she's got a page which is just testimonials. If you've done all these different things, here's something, just a wild thought, and I'm sure Kate does the same. You can add all these different pieces to other items of content, including emails in a sequence over like a 2 or 3 week period, which means that by the time somebody finally lands on that page or registers for your webinar or books a meeting with you or just calls you on the telephone, the work has been done.
Yeah, that email nurture sequence is everything. So, as I said, my page is live all year, but the course only opens 3 times a year. But people join the wait list and then they get 7 or 8 emails that do exactly what you just said, that warm them up, that nurture them, that address the pain points. But the other thing about this, yes, it's hard work, but you know what's harder? Cold calling clients. You know what's harder? Is taking calls about your product and having to answer concerns. So again, I've been selling this course now for 6 years, and this single sales page has probably made me about $3.5 million. And I've had, as I said, 1,400 people take the big course. The number of people who've actually called me to ask a question before they buy, it's probably 7. I don't have to have any sales calls. Now, some people like them. You're good at them, right? I don't like sales calls.
Actually, no, I don't like them.
Yeah? Okay, I thought you loved them.
No. I do webinars and I love them.
Yeah, I love them. But like that hard sell on the phone where you're trying to persuade someone, no one likes doing that. That's horrible. So, it's not the dream that you're going to make money while you're asleep, but of course you do, because the sales page is live all night. You wake up to those PayPal pings. It's beautiful. But, every time someone comes to you with an objection or a concern, well, I'd really like to do it, but I wonder how many hours a week is this going to take me, this course? Great. Add that to your FAQs. Add a panel about it. Worried you don't have the time? Well, here's how we make it easier. You won't spend more time on SEO than you did before. You'll just spend it doing the right things. So, your page can grow. My sales page probably started at 2 sides of A4. And now it's probably 8 sides of A4. And every time I add a section, I sell out faster. So this is doing the work for you. Yes, it's hard. But as you said, you can mine that sales page for social media content, email, blog post articles, thought leadership, LinkedIn posts. It's a big pot of content that you can repurpose everywhere.
And we were just joking about the idea of, like Kate said, you like doing sales calls. Do that. But the other people that I have doing that with me, they learnt the process that I taught them. And the process that I taught them was from a guy that was a reluctant sales guy. And the process that I use is a process. It's a system. It's you work through, 4 or 5 different steps when you're on a call. This is no different to that. You're creating 4 or 5 different steps that someone's going to work through as they understand. And what I will say is that the best time to handle objections, if you're doing sales, is before the call or is before the conversation. The best time to handle objections is before then. And all this stuff can come together in some sort of sideways sales letter that takes someone on a journey. And then by the time they get to you, we call them a VIP, a very interested prospect. And then really they've maybe got 1 or 2 questions or concerns, or they just want to have a
chat
about the price.
Yeah, they just want to have a chat generally. I mean, I think that's fine as well. They just want to, they've read your sales page, they love you, but they want to get the cut of your jib. They want to, that's fine as well. But it's not an argument. It's not a sales call. It's just a a relationship building call?
So I'm gonna recap here. There was stage 1, which was the know your customer pain. And I added, if you know a little bit more about your target audience, that's useful too. If you can call out your target audience, that's great. Even if it's a picture. So for example, Kate, I see these ads on it at late at night, and there's always some guy whose hair is thinning. You know, his hair's thinning, and then he goes to the beach and people kick sand in his face and he can't get a girlfriend because he's lost his hair, right? It's showing me the person. And if it doesn't show me the person, if it names the person, that's even better. So we want to solve the problem. Number 2, we want to explain what it is that we're going to do, or the process that we're going to use. Is that correct?
Yeah, explain the product. And then number 3 is proof the product works.
Proof.
Testimonial, case studies, results. And then finally, action to purchase, and creating that kind of pricing sandwich with the investment, the FAQs, which are useful. You know, they just overcome those final objections, the paint the future, the pricing again, and then a final call to action.
Well, I see the paint the future as a bonus. So let's it's like 4 things plus a bonus here.
Yeah.
And that is I think it's worthwhile isolating and pulling it out, because
it's super powerful.
Help your clients feel how they should be feeling. They're more likely that they can now see it. Whereas beforehand, that's never going to work for me. I can't see it. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, you're taking them on a little adventure, aren't you? You're taking them from problem to imagine not having that problem. That's what the job of the sales page is. And all you need to feel this way, to feel this beautiful future that I've laid out for you, is to give me your credit card. You know, it's brutal, but it's true. And the final thing I would love to finish on is, I think a lot of people are angsty about sales, but really, you know, if you focus on the fact that you are explaining the product, someone has a disease, you have the cure. You know, you're not selling things to people who don't want them. You're providing people with the evidence they need. Often in our world, for me, it's the evidence they need to take to their partner to justify the purchase. Well, she's got 27 reviews. It's got this great approach in it. She's worked with these brands. She did this herself. She started here and now she's here. That's the kind of evidence that you can imagine someone explaining to their partner. So have you covered off the partner argument questions? That's a great way to think about it.
That's a big one. Now, I'm going to put a link underneath here, either to Kate's site or maybe a long form landing page, or indeed some sort of like opt-in gift or
maybe
some sort of thing. We'll figure what that thing out is. But look for that link and take action, because Kate clearly knows her stuff. Go out and buy Misfit Entrepreneur. I don't know if you can get on an Amazon wait list for 6 figures in school hours.
Oh, yeah, it's out there, baby. You can pre-order it. James is going to order a copy straight after this. He's promised.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I've read the first. Now I'm going to read the sequel. That's the way it's going to be. Any final words of advice before we wind up?
I think just to remember that, you know, everything that James has said is true. Some great analogies there. It's just about helping people make the decision that they were probably already going to make anyway.
Yes. Transfer that certainty. You know that they're going to get a result, but they're used to, they're hardwired to try and look for the dangerous things that don't exist, because sometimes FEAR, false evidence, is
love your mum. Thank you, Mrs. Tuckerman. I love that.
I love my mum too. All right. Woo. Thank you, Kate.
Thanks so much.